You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 45. I'm your boy Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Before we bring on today's guest, we got something to talk about, good people. We back for another personal development segment. Shout out to the book Soundtracks by John Cuff. There's another concept in the book I want to cover today, which is the concept of being kind to yourself. We all have dreams and goals and ambitions, and we all out here chasing those goals, whether it be in your 9-to-5 life or if you're an entrepreneur. We all have things we're pursuing, and sometimes we fall short of those goals, and that's not the time for us to sulk in it and get down on ourselves and call ourselves names like losers or failures. That's the time where we should reverse engineer where we went wrong, readjust, come back and win the next time around. The reason why this concept stuck out to me was there was a portion in the book where he was talking about if you wouldn't say it to a friend, don't say it to yourself. And think about it. Think about all the times your friends have come to you and they had troubles passing a test, or they had trouble in any area of their life, whether that be fitness, family, or anything. You've never looked at your friend and said, oh, you're a failure, you're a loser because you fell short, you didn't pass this test, or you fell short of this goal. So keep that same energy for yourself, good people. All right? Be kind to yourself. That's all we got to talk about, good people. On with today's show. Today's guest, she is the founder and owner of Ashley Monique, LLC. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure you all will be inspired by her story. Let's give a warm Gumptown round of applause for Ashley Robinson. Ashley, how's it going?
It's going amazing. How has it been for you?
Good to hear that. Glad to hear that all is well on my end as well. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for thinking of me.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, we're here to talk about Ashley Monique, LLC, and all of the great things you got going on in business. But before we go there, let's get to know the woman behind the brand. What's your story?
Oh, it's a long story. You got time for this? No, I'm just joking.
I do. Go for it.
So I am an author, an entrepreneur, a community activist, and I'm also a professor and a behavioral coach. So I got a lot of hats that I kind of wear. Some with Ashley Monique and some with my other brands, but we sticking to Ashley Monique right now. I'm just trying to live out my purpose and destiny at this point and give all that I have to give before I leave this earth.
Wow, much respect and well said. And yes, you definitely do have even more hats than I thought. I know I looked at your website and I saw all the things you had going on, and then you just add on top of that being a professor as well. So when do you have time to sleep? Good grief.
Listen, I gotta preserve this youthfulness, baby. I can't have wrinkles up under my eyes, so I got to get the
rest. Respect. Nah, that's all right. That's all right. So let's talk about what you got going on in business under the Ashley Monique LLC umbrella, and whatever else you want to talk about, just in terms of what you got going on, products and services wise.
Okay, so when it comes down to Ashley Monique, one of the services that I offer is a nonprofit business startup. It's a lot of nonprofit organizations up and coming in the making that are out there. And I applaud anybody that wants to get into the nonprofit field, because that means they have a passion and a purpose for helping the community. So that's where I am centered around helping that startup. And what the startup consists of is filing your business paperwork for the state and filing your business paperwork for the IRS. If you know about nonprofits, or even if you don't, when you become a certified nonprofit through the IRS, it's a 501c3 process. And what that 501c3 does is officially make you official. If you know about funding when it comes to nonprofit organizations, a lot of grant money is out there relevant to any focus for your nonprofit organizations, because there's money out there that just want to help the community survive and thrive overall. So most grant funders want to see that a nonprofit organization is 501c3 certified. So I help with that IRS paperwork. as well as the state paperwork, like the certificate of formation, the name reservation. Even if you want to trademark your logos through the state, I help with all of that. Other things that I help with when it comes down to Ashley Monique LLC, I have all of my books. They're filtered, excuse me, through Ashley Monique LLC. Reconnecting my brokenness, tips to renew your mind. That's the series that I'm doing. It's actually a 4-book series, and the 4th edition comes out this year. It's a 3-month, a 6-month, a 9-month, and a 12-month devotional. The books tell a portion of my story at the beginning of each book. I also provide scriptures, tips, quotes, even resources for people that may be going through domestic violence, suicidal ideations, depression, any type of mental illness altogether. I provide resources, but those books were basically sparked from my purpose and my destiny in life. I felt like my story could help other people, so I provided those books. And I even provide sections in the book where you can journal as you read and process those daily tips to renew your mind. You are definitely able to journal and jot down what you get as well. And then I have my clothing line, Beautifully Favored, for women. I do fedora hats, like that's my specialty, as well as I have an active wear line. I want women to look good. They're trying to work out, get fit, get in the right mindset, and I want you to look good while doing it. Right before this podcast actually started, I had a young lady that shops with me, and she sent me a photo of her working out in the gym in the activewear, so that actually made me smile.
Wow. You are doing a lot of great things in the community, and hats off to you for what you're doing in the nonprofit space. And like you said, if you're doing anything in nonprofit, you definitely not in it for the money. You're definitely doing it for the people, and as
Right.
well as the books and just telling your story and empowering others through your story. Because a lot of times we can take our pain and hold on to it, but the fact that you're taking your pain and turning it into purpose, that's really awesome, man. That's really awesome. And I just want to commend you on that. And the clothing line, the fedora line, you're doing it all. You are definitely a serial entrepreneur. Did that run? Does that run in your family? You have a lot of entrepreneurs in your family?
I have a couple of entrepreneurs in my family. My dad, he had several barbershops. Granddad had a furniture store, and the list goes on.
Wow. Yeah, that's all right there. So clearly it's in the bloodline. Nah, that's good stuff.
Yes.
Nah, that's awesome stuff. So
Thank you.
whenever, no, yes, ma'am. So whenever I have entrepreneurs on a platform like yourself, I like to cover three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. Let's start with your aha moment. So what sparked the idea to take your pain and your story and your passion and turn it into a business?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Okay, so I have, well, you don't know, but I have always been a person to question what it is, what my purpose is in life. And at some point, I had to realize you have to stop sinking in self pity and do something with the information that you learn, the skills, gifts, talents, whatever you have. And it was like one point in time, I was just sitting down, like thinking about everything I had been through and made it over. And I'm just questioning God, like, why me? Like, what in the world? Like, why me out of everybody? And I heard the Lord speak to me clear as day and said, why not you? So at that
Mm,
point, I had to sit down and say, I went through all of this stuff for a reason. And it wasn't just so that Ashley could overcome. It's for that Ashley can use all of the information, all of the turmoil, the trauma, the pain, and even all of the knowledge that I gained from all of those situations and to use it to help other people. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it wasn't easy. Because it's almost like putting my whole life out for display. And I tell people all the time, like, I'm see-through. And what that means is like see-through, like clear. And what I mean by that is it's not anything that you can tell about me that I haven't said or is willing to say. Irrelevant to my life, my actions, anything, because it's learning opportunities. I'm growing each day. I'm not perfect. And even at this moment right now, it's still things that I have to overcome and still things that I have to learn, but it's okay. I'm human. It's life. So at that point, I had like an aha moment, like, okay, Ashley, now it's time for you to put on your big girl panties, as they say. And it's time for you to not just keep sinking in self-pity and use what you've gotten and make somebody your life and do something with it. So I decided to start a business. And even though I tackle two sides on my business, it's almost like a umbrella of services. I do what I can to be able to help people, and no, I'm not afraid to tell my story. I would tell anybody. And I had someone in my family, not gonna call names, but she came to me before my very first book came out in 2019, and she asked me, she said, "Are you really ready for people to know your story? Are you really ready for this to be put out?" And I'm like, yes. Like, it doesn't matter at this point, because I'm trying to help people survive and thrive out here. I'm trying to help people overcome. I'm trying to help people live when some people don't want to live anymore. So if that means telling my story and maybe throwing some embarrassing things out there about me, I'm ready for it.
Wow, that's so powerful. And you said a lot of powerful stuff. But the one thing that stood out to me was just telling your story and being vulnerable, not being easy. And it's not easy because, like, you pretty much just, I mean, to keep it PG, you pretty much just naked. You just showing the world this is me. And everybody don't have the courage to do what you've done, telling your story. Like, that's not, and I want you to know, like, that takes strength. That takes a lot of courage. That's not a small thing. That's a big deal that you were willing to talk about your pain and everything you've been through and tell your story, because it's not easy. And I trust me, it's because, but on the flip side though, people can't necessarily use your story against you, because the same people who would probably talk noise about your story, they can walk a mile in your shoes. They can walk a day in your shoes.
Right.
So no, that's amazing. So from the time you realized, hey, God, what's my purpose? I need to take my pain and turn it into a business. How long did it take you to get started? How, from the time you got the idea of creating the logo and all that stuff?
It took me a minute because I had been tossing around the idea in my mind, but I knew it was going to take like me full time, like a full time opportunity. And I had an amazing state job now. I can't lie about that. And I was like, God, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to leave. I'm talking about I had great benefits. I was driving their car. Like, I had a lot of good stuff going on. And I know when I was coming up, like from where I'm from, if you got you a state job, shoot, you done made it. That's how we used to think. Um,
Right.
you work for the city, you work for the state, you done made it.
Right.
Um, but I had just gotten a good state job, and I worked there for several years. And at a point, and this is how I knew it was really time for me to go. At a point, I got very, very uncomfortable. So I had been tossing around the ideas in my mind. The Lord already said, "Hey, it's time for you to make this move. You need to start this, do that." And I had been jotting down ideas, and this went on for years, coming up with names, a lot of different things. But it wasn't until that point where it got harder and harder for me to get up and go to work every day. And it got harder for me to sit there for all of those hours. And then it got harder for me to actually do the work. And and I really wanted to do what I was trying to do for my business. And let me just say this, my boss was great. I had just won Employee of the Quarter from the commissioner. I just got a signed certificate of acknowledgement. Like, it wasn't that my job was bad. It just that my passion and my direction had changed. So after a few years, I actually quit my state job and started my own business. Now, let me tell you, for the first 8 months of that transition for me, it was very, very hard. And I tell people all the time, for you to be an entrepreneur is not for the weak-minded. You are going to have to be strong. You're going to have to be fluent in creating money-making opportunities for yourself. Like, I am keen on creating money-making opportunities for myself. But those first 8 months were hard. And I would tell anybody, by me being an entrepreneur for the first time, you can get all of the information, you can get all of the knowledge, you can read all of the articles, but it's nothing like that full experience. And when I tell you, I got down, I used all of my savings. It was like I got down to that last month, and this may be hard to believe, but I promise you, it's so true. I got to the last month of money in the bank to pay my bills before I would have been completely broke. And it was like the Lord opened up the heavens for me. Because when I tell you, I got more money than I've ever had in my life. And it took to that 8 months for it to all come around. And it was just like I've been in my mojo ever since then. And another thing about when you're an entrepreneur, like you gotta have the confidence. Like I said, you can't be weak-minded and you can't be just weak in the flesh, period. Like you gotta have the confidence, you gotta have the drive and the mindset. And I'll tell anybody this: you can never go harder for somebody else's job than you're gonna do for your own. So even for my people that actually had their own business and work, part-time for someone else, or even full-time, and you work your business part-time, don't go harder for somebody else's dream and somebody else's vision versus your own, because you got to be able to push. So it was a couple of years after I developed the name, developed the logo, that I actually made that big move.
Wow. Let me just say, once again, everything you just said, all it spoke to me was just courage. You were in your job, you were doing well, you were awarded, you were appreciated, but it became hard to go. And you realize it became hard to wake up every morning and go to work, and you realize it wasn't for you. That's self-awareness. And don't get me wrong, I know it's not the 9 to 5 thing isn't for everybody. The entrepreneurship thing isn't for everybody. But let me tell you, you talk about faith. You got down to your last month about to be broke, and all of a sudden things start happening. Like that's the thing. See, what you talking about, like stepping out your comfort zone. Golly, that's it. I mean, you talking about I was over here cringing as you was talking about it, like, golly, I couldn't imagine being down to the last month, because we're taught to play it safe.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
we're taught to play it safe, but that's what faith gets you. Like you just, like you said, you can't be weak. You gotta be confident, but I don't know. You trusted God. You had that faith and you made it happen, and it ended up working out for you. So that's just awesome. So this last portion, the audacity, it takes courage and audacity to step out there and get started. And I would like to hear your insight on that. Who or what gave you the courage, the audacity to step out there and get started?
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like when I presented this opportunity to a few family members, the opportunity for me to start my own business, I had a couple of them say, are you sure you want to do that? Like you're gonna leave something with guaranteed pay bi-weekly, guaranteed benefits for you to not know when your next dollar is coming. I was always taught to never leave a job without having another one. Like I was always taught that.
Right.
But it was one person in my family, which was my daddy. And he was like pushing for it. He was like, do it. Like you're not gonna know until you do it. Like you can do it. And at first it was hard, but he pushed, and I had a couple of friends, not a whole lot, but I had a couple of friends that actually encouraged it. They said the time is right. And then let me put this out there. Season is everything. Like if the Lord give you a vision, if he give you drive and motivation to be able to do something, when he give it to you, you need to go ahead and do it. Because if you don't go ahead and do it at the time, you might miss out on something. And what I mean by that is when I left my job and started my business, it was when COVID had happened. And it was like almost everything shut down. Everybody knows the situation that happened with COVID. It's pretty much the same everywhere. It may be just a few things different in certain states. But what I mean by that is that ended up being a blessing for me, because I had zero revenue, zero customers. I had started booking all of these events, shows, and then everything just stopped. That's how I ended up not being able to bring in the money like I needed, and got down to that 8th month and got broke. But when all of these different opportunities started coming out for small business and owners and entrepreneurs, and all of these trainings and all of these classes, all of this funding and everything started happening, if I would not have started my business when the Lord told me to, I would have missed that block, because I would have been just a little bit too late to have qualified for all of that good stuff that everybody had to offer when it came down to small businesses. And it's not just the funding that they was trying to, like, they was putting your information out there. They were trying to help market your services. Like, it was just a blessing overall. And I met a lot of different entrepreneurs. I networked a lot. It really just gave me the boost that I needed. And I started getting all of my events and customers and clients and everything that I had before, but it just came in on overflow for me. And then with the help of all of these different funding opportunities and these different trainers and marketing and promotional people, like, they were giving discount services for helping you be able to promote your business. Like, you know how we would get billboards and do all that, like, everything was just like low cost if you had your business started between this year and that year. And if I would have missed that block and started my business just a little bit later than I needed to, I would have missed out on all of those good opportunities. So I tell anybody, if you started your business like right before COVID, that was probably the best thing you could have done, because you would not have missed much money because you were still fresh, but you were able to still reap the benefits of all of the benefits that connected to individuals that started their business. So it was really good for me.
Wow, that's amazing. Talk about obedience, listening to God and trusting God's word and God's will. And you did this in the midst of the pandemic. That was a period of a lot of uncertainty for everybody, because we were just in the house and everybody's like, man, what's going to go on? Am I going to lose my job? And you sat up there and left your job. You talk about courage and obedience. That is some powerful stuff. And hats off to your dad for telling you to go for it, because he's absolutely right. You won't know until you try. I mean, and I don't know, as humans, it's just so easy for us to get caught up in our own thoughts and overthinking and taking no action. But you had your dad there, and you had your story you had to tell, and COVID came around, ended up being a blessing in disguise. So your
It was.
story through and through has been powerful. Wow. So in terms of what you've done in business so far, you've done great things. I know great things are coming down the pipeline, which leads to my next portion, vision. What are your short-term and long-term goals for the business?
Right now, my very short term, I say that because I was supposed to be did this probably like a month ago, but as long as it's still within the year, it's still short term. So like I mentioned, that fourth edition to the 4-book series is coming out. Um, I'm gonna end this series, but as it connects to my book ventures, I'm kind of toying with the idea of if I want to do another series long term, or do I kind of want to go in the direction of children's books. Um, I'm still playing around with that idea. I think I'm leaning more so toward the children's books, because my books right now, they kind of focus on, teens and older. It's not gender specific, but it's for the teens and older. It really helps. But I want to try to do something, to help the kids as well. As it relates to my clothing line, I want to do a male's version of Beautifully Favored. I wanted to call it Bow by Beautifully Favored, because I always have men saying, what do you have for us? You don't have anything for us. So I do want to come up with a men's line. And like I said, I want to call it Bow by Beautifully Favored. As it relates to my services, one of the things that I did not mention when I initially spoke on the services is I do a lot of motivational speaking. I do want to venture out and do and accept basically more speaking engagement. I try to accept as many as I can right now, but I do want to do them on a larger scale. And then I also do vendor shows. That's one thing that I failed to mention. One thing I focus on is helping people in both of my businesses and growing holistically in any aspect that I can get someone to grow in. I do, and I try to provide small business owners or entrepreneurs with opportunities to be able to market their services and sell their products. So what I do with that is I provide them with opportunities to set up. Most of the time, I do it in a mall format, in a building format. I do it for major holidays. I do the vendor shows. They're called Shop Galore. And like I said, I try to do them for major holidays because at that point, when you're setting up selling your products and merchandises, it's always a gamble. So, sometimes you may sell and sometimes you may not. But when it comes down to selling and setting up during holidays, most of the time you're gonna make good money. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So I try to provide them with those opportunities, and I've been doing a lot of them locally. So one long-term goal for that is to branch out and do a shop galore tour. And I've been reaching out to different locations to kind of like take this vision right here on the road.
Wow, those are some great short-term, long-term goals, and have no doubt all of those goals will come to fruition because from the sounds of it, you are determined, you committed, you're going to make it happen.
Yes, with the Lord's help, I definitely will.
No doubt. So are there any upcoming events that you would like to promote?
Yes, so we have a book tour that we will be starting in July. Me, along with another author, her name is Shatar Clark. We will be hitting a city near you. We have a lot of events scheduled for Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Louisiana. Our very first stop, of course, is going to be here in Montgomery, Alabama on July 23rd at the Bertha Williams Library from 10 to 12 p.m. We will be featuring a local author at all of our locations. So we're really excited. Of course, I have several vendor fairs with Shop Galore coming up. So, of course, stay tuned to my social media. Ashley Monique with 2 U's on Instagram and Beautifully Favored Ashley Monique on Facebook, so that you can kind of get the information on the shop galores as well as the tour dates. And then also I have a business change nonprofit organization. We focus on underprivileged families. We have our building that should be opening at the end of July. We're very excited about that. We're going to be helping underprivileged families by providing after school programs, clothes closet, food pantry, mentoring services for kids. We're even going to have office space available. We're having a back to school bash the last Friday in July. So we just got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. Hope everything, works out as planned.
Wow, you got your summer is filled with a lot of events. You're going to be rocking and rolling, making it happen. That's some good stuff.
Thank you.
No problem. So tell me, what is it like being a full-time entrepreneur? Like, kind of take me through those, your day-to-day, just in terms of your routine and just your feelings, excitement, anxiety. Just take me through life in the day of a full-time entrepreneur.
Um, it's actually kind of interesting because the fact that you make your own schedule, it at first it could be hard. Like I'm not gonna lie, you got to be able to get in the groove of things because when you have like so much time in your hands and someone is not telling you when to come in and when to do things, it's almost like, oh my goodness, I have all the time in the world, and then you'll get stagnant and you'll get complacent and won't get anything done. But just like I was telling another young lady who just started doing her own thing, you got to set a schedule for yourself. And when you're able to do that, you're able to rock and roll. So I also see clients. I see about between 20 and 25 clients every week, mental health clients. So when I'm seeing clients and, going to events and speaking and doing things at the building and traveling, sometimes it can become a little overwhelming. However, when you're able to maneuver through your schedule properly is great. And what I mean by that is time management is everything. Like every 30 minutes, every 10 minutes is accounted for. That's why when you told me, when you asked about sleeping, I'm like, oh yes, I got to get my sleep. I got to preserve this youthfulness. I get all 7 to 8 hours of my sleep. And I do not play about that because during the day, I make it shake. Like I rock and roll. Every minute is accounted for. And I'm an early bird. Like I can get up early and start my day. At nighttime, I'm no good. But I really, really utilize my time like to its fullest. And I really make the opportunities and everything work for me as best and well as I can.
Wow, that's great. So pretty much you get up early, you get straight to it, you don't waste any time, and pretty much you just pretty much make sure the time in your day is accounted for. Now that's amazing because I I could imagine all that free time, not having anybody over your shoulder. At first, it could be hard, but it sounds like you figured out a system and a routine that works for you. Awesome.
Right, right. And let me just say this too. Like, I don't know, people have their different ways of being encouraged, being inspired and motivated. We have different faiths. But what I will say for me is prayer and spending time with the Lord whenever I need to works for me, because you have to be, I don't care if you're a millionaire and you're Beyonce, like super famous, you still have to be encouraged. Even when you're dealing with the everyday woes of life. And what I mean by that, the everyday stressors of life, you're going to have family members pulling on you and a lot of people depending on you. And it's almost like, I'm trying to make it for me, but I can't fail because I got to make it for other people too. But when you're stressing me and all of this stuff is becoming overwhelmed, you have people working for you and you have to deal with whatever issues through the business, and you got to make sure funding is still coming in and clients are still being seen and all of these like different type of things. Like, it can become stressful. So you're going to need something to inspire you. You're going to need peace. So I encourage anybody that's an entrepreneur or even an up and coming entrepreneur, or even just an everyday working person, you work again 9 to 5, whatever floats your boat. You're going to have to always find that peaceful place for you. And you're going to have to always make sure that you're motivated and encouraged and enjoy life. Like, you don't, I used to have a mindset, I got to work. I can't, like, my family would go overseas, go on cruises, Hawaii, Paris, and all this. And I'm like, no, I got to work. I got to work. No, you enjoy life and you work. You work and enjoy life. And make sure you save your money. Make sure you work out and make sure you get enough rest and you'll be good.
Nothing else needs to be added to that. That was golden. That was golden. So as we come to the end of the podcast, I want to ask $1 million question. I started this podcast because I wanted to highlight the greatness coming out of Montgomery, whether you were born here, lived here for a significant period of your life, for college or military, you being a hometown hero. Let me ask you, what makes you the most proud to be from Montgomery?
The fact that I can say I was raised on the west side of Montgomery. Mm-hmm. My grandmama had 10 kids. I have almost 30 first cousins. My mom went to college and she has an associate's degree. But it was just, I have the highest form of education, but it ain't even about that. It's about what Montgomery has taught me. On these streets of Montgomery, Alabama, I have learned how to hustle. I have learned how to do things that the normal person wouldn't have learned how to do. But I have also gained knowledge, skills, talents, and all kinds of things in Montgomery, Alabama. The fact that this is, the South, the birthplace of the civil rights, it just shows like, a long time ago, African Americans can do anything here. But now we are able to survive, thrive, grow, and be able to say we are from a place where we couldn't even go to certain bathrooms. Now we can own whole full out buildings and start businesses and just do things like that. I never discredit Montgomery, Alabama. I know when I was in school, a lot of people would say, we're going to college somewhere else. No, I'm going to college right here in my city. And I did go, to the University of Alabama as well for my master's program. But it's just something about Montgomery and what I learned. I'm from the west side of Montgomery. And what it taught me was what I needed for my life right now. You know how some people say, I wish I wasn't from this place. Or I wish I wasn't from this family. But God knows what he's doing. I don't care if you come from the worst background or been through the worst situation. It's a learning opportunity for you to be able to take and grow. So I will always say I am proud to be from Montgomery, Alabama, aka the Gulf Town.
Yes, ma'am. Much respect. Much respect. So how can the people connect with you, Ashley? What are your social media handles and website?
All right, my website is the Ashley Monique, and that's THE AshleyMonique.com. Instagram is Ashley Monique, 2 U's in Monique. I am beautifully favored, Ashley Monique. My business page on Facebook and my regular Facebook page is Ashley Monique Robinson. If you want to connect with me through email, it's info@theashleymonique.com. And even if you want to give me a call, you can call me at 334-245-5590.
Yes, ma'am. And of course, I'll put all this information in the description of the episode. Hey, Ashley, thanks again for this conversation. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. We gone, but before we leave, remember, be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Gone. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.